Call the meeting to
That's
order.
us.
Please stand for the pledge. Remove any hats. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record reflect that all members are present this evening, including our two student reps. 4.0, Principal Student Rep Information. Rose, would you like to go first? Okay.
These next couple of weeks are pretty quiet, but farther out on the 23rd, we have the end of our third marking period along with Easter break. More info about those will be given at the next meeting.
And for sports, winter sports have officially ended with the girls basketball team losing to International Falls at sections 49 to 42.
Anything else? Really quiet, huh? Okay. Thank you. Principal's report. Who would like to start?
Sure, I'll go. It is a quiet time of year. It's March doldrums were just, and then the weather has to go and be pretty nice, so it's tough to, everyone just wants to go outside, and we haven't been outside in a while. But we do have, this Friday night, the PTA is putting on family movie night at 6 p.m. in the activity room. And then on the 18th, fourth grade, we start field trip season. Fourth grade's going to the LEC for the day. That's all I have.
I'll go next. Our book fair was a big success last week. Big thanks to the PTA and Sheila Kutze for arranging it. Also a thanks to Amanda Brunfeld for our I Love to Read month. That wrapped up again last Friday. We have the 6th grade going to Giants Ridge on Wednesday of this week, and then the 5th grade is going next Thursday. And spring sports are starting up, so registration is going on, and captain's practice is starting. That's about it.
Thank you.
Spring sports are gearing up for us as well. It is that quiet time in between. The speeches is still in full swing. They took second place out of 13 teams at the Ely speech meet on Saturday. There are 27 students in grades 7 through 12 currently registered to go to subsections on the 22nd. And they are favored to win the subsection, so I'll keep you posted there. We don't want to jinx anything yet, but play auditions happened last week, 2 weeks ago. Cast has been set and practices have started. The play is called A Servant of Two Masters, correct? Oh, God, I didn't write any of that down. So I had mentioned at the last board meeting that our first virtual field trips have been scheduled. Brandy Latiger at the junior high school wrote a grant with me to become a part of a college and career club through the federal Carl Perkins money that's typically for high schools. She was awarded that grant, and as part of that program, she's going to bring that club over here on Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. For a virtual field trip with a zoo. They will meet with a couple of professionals there, so if you'd like to join us for that, you're more than welcome.
What were the dates and times?
I'm sorry.
What were the dates and times on that?
Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. is the Junior High Career Club coming over.
Okay.
And then on Friday at 12:10, Tim Strasser's genetics college class is going in for the gene scene virtual field trip. They were mailed a kit. They've been doing some hands-on experiments already. They're going to break some of my rules about having liquids in there because they're going to do an experiment with them, but it should be great. So you're welcome to join us for that one at 12:10 on Friday as well, and to come and see what that virtual field trip is like. Senior high band, choir, and orchestra are preparing for contests next week. They have a concert on the band and choir have a concert here at the high school on the 17th at 7 p.m., which is a Thursday. And last but not least, we had conferences last week, Thursday, with a typical pretty small turnout for spring conferences. I would say we had about a 20% attendance rate. That's all.
Thank you. 5.0, agenda additions or deletions.
One addition and one change. Under new business 11.5, you have a golf course facilities use agreement with the city in front of you. It calls for $50 per golfer. there. First, one of note, I miscalculated when I sent the original packet of, I miscalculated on head, girls, and boys track coach. It's actually, you can see the updated figure, $2,609. I was missing 1 point on my figures. And then, due to the nature of the junior high baseball coach, we will need to move Mark 40 to 10.3 and have that as a separate issue.
Okay, anything else? That's all? Okay, thank you. Moving on, 6.0, visitor input. Anyone who would like to address the board other than an agenda item, please step up to the podium. If you have a large group, try to keep it to one spokesperson if possible. But there's a podium. Last chance. Because it's not on the agenda. Okay?
Yep, Chickagami report is on the agenda.
Yes, that's on there. Yes, that's on there. Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. 7.0, approve the agenda.
So moved?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion Sean Webb, second 40, to approve the agenda. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8.0, approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Monday, February 22nd, 2016. Need a motion and a second.
I'll move.
Support?
Motion Peterson, second Sean. Any other discussion or changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.0 Business Office Affairs. 9.1 Treasurer's Report for the month of February and the first check writing in March. Okay?
For February, we have receipts of $1,416,494.24. Disbursements of $504,487.46. Payroll, $657,445.99. For the first check writing of March, we only have disbursements of $114,279.84. I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
Okay, motion Sean, second by Gentilini. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.2, accept the donations from Target's Take Charge of Education program.
We have, those who use their Target Red Card, there's a certain percentage that goes, if you can designate a school. I'm hearing rumors that this might be the last one we get. I don't think they're gonna do that program anymore. I could be wrong about that too, but, for the present, the Melchine Elementary is $628.93. The junior high is $406.45. Senior high, $1,654.79. And the Franklin Elementary at $2,035.48. And these figures go enter the student activities account, and they're used for field trips and various parties and stuff like that.
Okay, we need a motion to accept the donations.
So moved.
Motion by Sean Webb.
Support.
Second by Gentilini. Any discussion?
I think we should also send them a letter of thank you for
Definitely,
their donation.
yes. And I hope that they keep coming. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10.0 Personnel. 10.1 Accept the resignation of the assistant swim coach. Do we have to? Barb has been here for how many
I
years?
couldn't figure out how many, I don't know how many Barb has been here. It's before the pool was built, but sometime. sometime in the range.
Not quite that long. She wasn't here then. What? She's done a very good job. I would look for a motion to accept the resignation.
I'll move we accept Barbara Blank's resignation.
Okay, motion 40,
Support.
second by Sean Lod, with a big letter of
Thank you,
for all the
yes.
years she's put in. So, okay, any discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Approve the extracurricular assignments for spring 2016. On this, we have to take Mark off the list because he is a board member. You have to do that separately, and it has to be unanimous vote for him to get on it. So we will take 10.2 minus Mark 40 in the junior high baseball program. And the right, go ahead. Did I forget something?
No, I was moving to the next part, but
Oh, okay.
I just, word for everyone on the board, this is a considerable less amount of coaches that we've typically hired in the spring. We had spring signups, and based on those numbers, that's where the coaching recommendations fall for now. I mean, if there are more numbers that show up on the first day, starting next week, and then another half the following week, the other half of the sports the following week, I'll come back to you at that time and say, hey, we have X number of kids in the program and we need to hire another coach. But like I said, for now, this reflects the level of interest that we have today.
For this early sign up. And we've
Yep.
done this before, we've had to come back. It's nothing that we haven't done before.
So, and I know that there was some question on baseball, because a lot of them, like softball, we did a head and assistant. Baseball, we have head and junior high. It's just the way the numbers played out. We had a bunch of junior high kids sign up, and we only had a dozen senior high kids sign up. So there wasn't really numbers for a JV team at this time. And maybe that'll change on the first day of the season, maybe it won't. But I'm just going with what we know right now.
Okay? Need a motion and a second to accept?
I'll move.
Okay, motion by Peterson,
Support.
second by Mark. There you go. Mark, Mr. Chad. Put it that, how's that?
Mr. Chad.
Yes, Mr. Chad.
Mr. Chad.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10.3.
Do we have to deal with the baseball yet?
That's no 10.3. That's for Mark.
Okay,
Yep, that's separate.
thank you.
Mark 40 for the assistant softball coach, or baseball rather. We have to do this separately because he is a board member. And this is also for the public's information also. We have to do this separate because he is a board member. And there was no other
Just so
applications.
you're aware that we did check with the MSB, and board members can be employed through the school district. They can't make more than $8,000 a year though.
Okay.
It's not completely unprecedented.
And I will be abstaining on the vote.
Yes. Okay, need a motion and a second.
I'll move.
Motion by Putzel, second
I'll support.
by Shanlon. Any other discussion?
I just want to add, was there any other interest in this position?
We had no other applicants for any of our, we hired as many as we had applicants for this spring, and that one not being any different.
Thanks, Mark, for wanting to take it.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Mark has to abstain for the record. Moving on, 11.0 new business, report from Chickagami. If you want to step up and state your name and
Is this on? I don't know if I get a mic here. Can you
No,
hear me okay?
you'll just hear it in the camera. It's not going to magnify your voice at all.
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Lynn Fina, and I have been a member of the Chickagami board since last summer.
and I have a few comments to make on behalf of the board. This is our Executive Director, Carol Moreland, and we're going to try to answer any questions if you have some as well. As you know, our board has been actively attempting to develop a facility for the families and kids that we serve at Chickagami for 5 years at least now. I came to the board recently and I was amazed at all the work that had gone on in trying to locate a facility that we wanted to be in. Remaining in the basement of the old Evelyn Junior High School is not our dream. And it's been our intent to relocate since 2011, when we worked so hard and spent several $1,000s was spent to acquire the Finger Hut building, and at least a dozen other sites our board's pursued since then have fallen through. We have done a lot of work to find a place. We have had support from the school district. We've had support from the city, from AEOA, from IRRB, and from private helpers along the way. So over the last 2 weeks, it became clear that we do not, in fact, at this point, have a viable plan, the one that we had all counted on. And it may not be possible to complete a plan by June 30th, as far as we can tell. There's a lot of work that would go into finding a new location, having it licensed, planning to build out however we do that. And we have 2 possibilities on the table since last Tuesday that have come up that we are following up on. But I guess we're here. I know that you have renewed our lease many times, and you are probably just as tired of granting us a renewal as we are tired of asking for a renewal, but we are asking. We are asking that we at least be allowed to remain in the building after June 30th on a month-to-month basis until we have the funds to move, or you have the funds to demolish the building, if that were going to be the plan, or do something else with the building, until it's necessary for you that we leave. Certainly you're aware United Way of Northeastern Minnesota has identified childcare as one of the more pressing needs on the range, one of the most unmet needs. We have many families that are 2-income earners, and without childcare, one of these parents might be staying home. It will definitely affect the economy of families that we serve if we're not able to operate. So we're here to urge you to work with other community resources on our behalf if you can, or to help us work with other resources in the community. We know we need to collaborate in this environment, and we want to do that. We know the people of Evelyn need childcare, and we don't really want to move, but probably everything has to be on the table until we find a site in order for us to make something happen. I'm wondering if there's some way that you, as a board, could help us convene some kind of a collaborative group that could work on possible solutions. 1 or 2 school board members might make that, just a stronger effort. We're going to continue to work on this. And I guess just in closing, I want to say that when I joined this board in August, I was really amazed at how much had gone into developing the plan to build a new facility on Elba Avenue. It was like fantastic. I have been a part of other boards that built a facility, and that is not an easy job. And I know that the people on this board are not professionals. They're a hardworking board. They have many full-time employed mothers trying to make the world a better place for their kids and for all of our kids. I know that board is going to keep working on solutions, and we do need more help. We're not business managers, we're not entrepreneurs, and we're willing to work hard. We know childcare is necessary. So I guess those are some of our comments. The update is that that's our update for you at this point. We do have some things. We have, in spite of heated public conversation of the recent week, we are still engaged in working with the city and we'll be meeting with them. And so I guess that's where I'm going to leave it now. That would be the most recent update. That's as of today. So.
Well, I certainly hope that the impression in the public is not that the school board just suddenly are kicking you to the curb, because that's not the case at all. I mean, as near as I can tell, and I haven't been here that long, but at least a minimum of 9 years ago, there was the discussion started that at some point you guys are going to have to find a different spot because that particular location isn't going to be suitable for much longer. I mean, and you guys have been in there, obviously you know that you can do better. So they've been going on and on, year after year. You guys need to find somewhere new, and then the year goes up and, well, we need another extension. So I mean, in December, I guess the decision was made that, hey, we're not seeing a lot of progress. We're gonna see if we can hurry this situation up a little bit.
Okay.
There's nobody on this school board, I mean, and I'll speak for all of them, there's none of them that don't understand the value of childcare and the need for it in this community. However, I think there's been the lack of communication between our two boards. Back in June, when it was extended again, we asked for monthly updates for how things are going, and after never getting any, I think the assumption was that it wasn't going very well. I've met with the city over this issue myself, and I guess their optimism isn't exactly high either as to how far things have gone along. I guess I'm extremely disappointed in the last couple weeks, rather than any of you folks coming to talk to us to see what can be done about the current situation. There's mudslinging instead in the newspaper and Facebook, and that's just not fair to these people at all, because that's not the case. I mean, it's not like they just one day decided, oh, we're just going to kick these people out. I mean, that's not how it happened. And I need everyone to understand that we're not the bad people here. We're not the ones that are. I mean, we told you 9 years ago that something needs to be done about this, and that problem hasn't magically gone away, I wouldn't say. And we are definitely willing partners in making sure that daycare is happening in this community. I mean, we obviously are benefactors to quality daycare in this community. I've spoken with the IRRB's interested, the city's interested, and one way or the other we're going to make it happen. But we as a school have our own problems right now financially, and can't continue to subsidize a private program in that, because I mean, like I said, I mean, something needs to be happening. I mean, it's not good. So we will. And here's where I'm not going to speak for the board, but I mean, we're going to continue to work toward daycare to some end, and I don't know if we can. I would have to say that if we can see that there's some type of progress going on, I mean, they're not going to tear the building down around you.
Okay, that's good to know.
But we need to see some progress.
Yeah.
We need to see some.
Have you been in direct communication with the, keeping the city up, and what your progress is? And see, as the board, you know, I mean, we're kind of between two entities here. You know, the board is on one side and the city is on the other.
We are between two entities, I think.
Chickagami is between the city and the school.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to object, but
See,
it's a problem.
there's been a lack of communication there.
Okay.
And I know the board has felt this way too, myself, you know. We should have been updated, you know, on a regular basis, and that has not happened, you know. But I think, like Superintendent Carey said, you know, myself, we'd be willing to work with you yet, and with the city, if you can come up with a basic good plan with a timetable, and maybe what has to happen here is for the board and the city and you get together as a group and come up with a definite plan and a time element where, like Superintendent said, we're faced with different things going on right now too, and for budget purposes, and I guess that's my opinion anyway. But I think the board, I can't speak for the board, but I'm sure they would you could see some definite progress made during the time of it. As the superintendent, so I believe we would work with you. I would like to see this daycare center stay here in the city. You know? Have you looked at the Rustic Rock at all as a possibility?
This past week. Until 2 weeks ago, I just have to say, until about the 23rd of February, we had been meeting with architects and the city on, I would say, I don't know, every week or two for a while. We thought we had a plan. We thought we had a building date. We thought we had an opening date. And all of that was there, but we got a price tag 2 weeks ago that is absolutely, it's $8,000 a month, and there's no way, childcare is not going to come up with $8,000 a month extra for rent, and we just, it was like, well, we can't make these deadlines. Maybe we can still make that plan if we can find some other funding source, but we cannot build a facility for that cost, and we were totally flabbergasted that those numbers had never come up before a couple weeks ago, so.
There's not the dollar figure that was in our plan. I mean, it was budgeted for at least $3,000 less than that. So where this dollar amount came from. So we're shocked that that's what happened, and that's when we decided we need to act, because that plan isn't foreseeable for us.
I hope you realize that whatever other people bring to you when you're asking a collaborative effort, that over the years my experience has been you want the moon, champagne on a beer budget, basically. I think those days are gone. I think you're going to have to accept that you're not going to get everything on your wish list. And that's unfortunate, but I think that's the reality of it. The school over the years has offered you space in the Franklin, we've offered you space in Gilbert, but because they weren't exactly what you hoped for, those options were turned down. We've just almost habitually given you extension after extension after extension, and each time the conversation has been very similar. We care about these kids and we care about these families. But we are subsidizing Chickagami right now, and it's an expensive proposition. You're paying less than a third, or roughly a third, of what it costs us to keep that building open. Are you willing to pay the full cost to keep that building open?
We have to figure out what that cost number is, for sure. And we understand that, you know.
Because that would play into our decision-making for how long we might
And
grant
that's
an
what we
extension.
looked at. Heating that building is a big expense, so we're looking at.
Yes, it is.
It goes on October, November, so that's what we're looking at if until the heating season. If, you know, I mean, that's our push, is to be out of there by the heating season, whatever, wherever we go. If it's another city, if it's remaining in the city of Evelyn, in another location, but we understand it's high heating costs there.
But I would also hope that, as a board, you would have a conversation about consistently throwing us under the bus. We didn't cancel anyone's lease. We didn't terminate anyone's lease, which is the language that we've seen come from Chickagami.
Right.
What we did is we notified you 7 months before the expiration of a lease of our intent not to renew, leaving the door open for conversation. That happened in December. It's now March. So it took you a while to decide that maybe we were serious and somebody needed to talk to us. So I would hope that moving forward, if you've got something to say, that you have your facts straight before that's sent home to parents or before there's any kind of public discourse.
And I want to improve the communication over what it's been between all of the parties involved. And I think that we will be making a big effort to do that.
My comments on the situation, well, I don't want to go back and rehash what's happened over the years, other than to say our action on the lease for June, I think served the purpose, at least that I wanted to see come out of it, is we got some answers. We finally heard what was going on, or what might be going on, or what isn't going to happen. And the way I look at this going forward is where I want to concentrate on. In your comments about having some members of this board, city council, your board, and members of the public, forming a committee, task force, whatever you call it, to try to solve this issue. And I would be one that would be willing to be on that, in that group from this board. And I think that would be a good way. That's the best way for us, for this whole board, to hear what is really happening if we've got somebody on the inside with what's being talked about.
Yeah,
I think you had a good idea.
okay.
One of the years, one of the years leading up to everything that's going on, we always said that the heating system on there is fragile, to say the least. And if we were to have a line break, the steam lines that go underneath the street, we said that would be the end of the heat to the building, because it's almost $500,000 to fix that. That's the steam heat underneath there, and that's a lot of money. It may be less, it may be more, but that's what we were given, some kind of a cost analysis, and that was quite a few years ago. So that's one of the reasons we were encouraging you to look for another building at that time, and that's been 9-10 years. Because if that steam line breaks in the middle of a heating system, we're not going to fix it. That's what the initial thing was, for you to look for a different building. And I hope you take that into consideration, because we just don't have the money to put into a line that we're eventually, hopefully, going to evacuate. We're going to be cutting it off. But at this time, it's not cut off. But you got to keep that in your back of your mind, because if that steam line breaks, that's going to be basically it.
In addition to the cost of moving, we have to deal with issues of licensing, which are really specific to childcare, not so much to, other service facilities, but they're specific to childcare. So, that's partly why some other arrangements haven't worked out, is because we weren't able to get them licensed.
Yeah.
I guess I'm sorry, but that's just another piece of information.
Yeah, well, we understand completely.
Yeah.
When do we normally shut the boilers down? Keith, you know what?
Does
anybody know
that varies from year to year.
Depends on the spring.
Yeah.
Last year it was June.
Yeah. This year, if things keep warming up, it could be the beginning of May, end of April, who knows? Like, the weather is a big factor in everything, so.
Once we shut the steam off, and really, there's no big other maintenance costs on that building, is there? Either building, I mean.
Electricity.
Electricity is about.
We still have people who go in there to check the building, as far as I'm,
Do you pay an
I've been
electrical
told.
bill on that building, or
no, we don't.
Stipend on utilities.
is that out our utility?
All they pay is a
Flat
portion of
flat
it.
fee per square foot.
And it's a set fee now, so even if
Oh,
our
okay.
costs go up, they pay a set fee.
I imagine that building is metered. We know how many kilowatts actually go through that building?
Yes.
We do. We have those figures.
They
the
have
numbers.
it, I don't.
I mean, our administration has those numbers, but. I mean, the only thing I would like to say something is, I mean, I was part of the negotiation between the last extension, and, I mean, between Dave Saline and the city of Evlith and leadership from Chickagami and a couple board members and the superintendent. And basically, all we asked for was communication. That was the one contingency on extending that lease, was communication. And up and down, leadership in Chickagami said absolutely, 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 and then it went away. And then it got to be, well, it's the city's responsibility, it's this consultant's responsibility. Well, our agreement is with Chickagami, the organization. I mean, and then, we've really went above and beyond trying to beg. I mean, we tasked our superintendent, and I've tried to reach out, myself and other members have tried to reach out to leadership at Chickagami to see where things are in the city, and it never went anywhere. And then there's a letter like this floating around that was sent home last week with their parents saying, we're terminating and canceling and closing Chickagami, and that's a blatant slap in the face for everything that we're trying to do with you guys. And I don't know if that's a board thing, but your Chickagami Board of Directors' name is on here. And it's like, where's your guys' name and your phone numbers? Because I think some of your customers should be calling you guys asking these questions and not necessarily us. This is why I asked for this conversation to be made in the public and not in some committee that nobody goes so everybody can twist and mince words and everything like that. I mean,
I think we do well to have more meetings between all of us in the
And,
public.
and that was advocated for during that last year too, and there was,
Well, I think that's something we can change. I'm willing to make that a change. I'm just one board member, but I'm pretty sure that our board is not interested in having destructive or dysfunctional kinds of conversations in the future. And part of what happened to us with that letter, I guess I would speak to this, or do you want to? We felt, because we suddenly had this acute awareness, we cannot make this timeline, that our parents needed to know. Because parents, it takes a while, they're going to have to change their lives to make some kind of a shift, whether they're driving to Hibbing to
Absolutely.
childcare if they can find it, or leaving a job, or shifting making a change at their job to work different hours. It just didn't seem fair not to make sure that parents had a chance.
but it's
to
language and
We've been
presentation
telling
also.
them, yeah.
Did you tell them in December when we took our vote that was?
We've been
The case?
telling them we are moving to a new facility by December
December
of
of
2016. This has been in coordination, and again, I'm coming into this more recently, but as I came into this last August, December 2016 was a date I heard then that
As well
this
as
is happening. We've got, all these ducks are lining up.
We just got the word February 23rd, that it was not going to happen.
But
So
my,
then
my whole
we-
point to this language of this letter is, up at any moment up until June 30th, this board can sit and extend your lease. This language that was used in here is not flattering to a relationship, you know, I mean,
I
mean,
it's a point.
It's not how you massage good relationships.
well, right, I mean, to try to work to something together, it's, you're, I mean, all this is public information, but, I mean, this is personal information, and not one board member from Chickagami's name is on this list, but every single board member on this board and the city council of Evlith is on here. I mean, that's very distasteful, in my opinion. And I'll just leave it at that.
I haven't seen a copy.
Anything else?
No, anything else from you?
Not at this time.
Thank you very
Just
much.
good luck with everything, and please,
If you
please.
give us if you put us on the agenda for update monthly,
Yeah.
then we'll be here. Lynn and I will be here, somebody from Chickagami will be here. Let us know that we're on the agenda. I talked to Kathy, and she told me that the meeting was changed and that we were on the agenda, so that's why we're here. So if we're notified that we're on the agenda, or you want to make it a standing first, second Monday of the month or whatever, we're on the agenda, we'll be here. And we'll give you an update.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
yeah, we can do that. Thank you. 11.2, discussion on the technology infrastructure.
I'm going to keep this one brief because we didn't get through the whole thing in the study session, and we're going to have to make some more time on Monday to get through it. But for the time being, we do have a few deadlines to meet. The gist of it is we have some infrastructure issues. We have some aging equipment. We do have the opportunity through a federal program called E-rate to pay for some of that equipment. And what I mean by that is normally E-rate is a program, it's a tax it's a basic communications tax that the federal government collects, and it's dispersed to the schools for stuff like internet service and whatnot. They do have a one-time per pupil funding program going on right now that will allow you, and it's this year and next year, so we don't have to do it right now. But it's for equipment, and we're eligible based on, it's $153 a student, so we're eligible for about $150,000. And what that is on that $150,000 is it's a 70-30, so they pay 70% of it, we pay 30% of it. So for about, I don't know, what's the numbers, Andrea? For $40,000, we can get 150, something like that, in that neighborhood.
46,000.
There you
And we
go.
qualify for 153.
All right. Thanks, Keith.
Well, I'm just reading the paper that we had.
He ain't
I
that smart,
didn't
he's
see
only-
Andrea, so, well, there she is.
Anyway, so, but the application deadline for that is March 17th. So we're gonna put the equipment in on the application, and whether or not it's approved or not down the road, you guys can decide if that's the way we want to spend the money or not, or we can cycle back and try again next year. But I'm just letting you know that that's what's going on right now. And like I said, next Monday I'm gonna put some more time on the study session to have more discussion about what that all means.
So just so I'm clear, you're going to actually try to apply for it? and
We're
then
gonna apply
we'll talk
for it.
about it and figure it out?
Yeah, if we get accepted, you can decide at a later date whether or not you want to move forward with that or not. I'm done with that one.
Okay, all right.
You know, we're paying CW Technologies right off the top, what, $4,200 a month, $4,600 a month?
Yep.
Shouldn't they have been advising this board or prior board or whatever that this is the route we should be taking, that we've got fiber optic cables that have been cut, and they're in place, and I just have a hard time swallowing that we hire another firm to check the firm that's supposed to be advising us. That's what bothers me. You know?
I'm working on that.
Yeah,
I think it'll work out in the end, Tom.
I don't disagree with your frustration, which is why I hired somebody else.
no, I don't mind hiring another firm to give us another opinion. I believe in second opinions. Even the Mayo Clinic tells you that. Get a second opinion, you know. But no, the thing that concerns me is that we're not advised, that the board is not advised of the system is failing and what's causing it. And we're paying $4,200 a month just straight off the top, and then if they do come up here and do work, we pay over it again from the time they leave to the time they go back, you know. I mean,
That's what I'm
it's
working
a
on.
big situation. No, okay.
Well, I think some of the stuff is, Tom, that they would also do remote entry into the system to try and fix things and then come up with, I agree, it's a program, or a problem rather, not a program, but a problem that we knew nothing about until this other firm came in, because when you use plastic ties on fiber optic, you bend it, you break it.
Right.
And they should not have used plastic ties, I'm sorry.
Well, CW is not the one that did that.
That was
I'll
not them.
defend them on that one. That
They
was long
didn't,
before they
they
got
didn't
here.
do the running of the wires. We had that in-house.
I mean, there's further conversation that needs to be done here.
Yeah.
I think it's,
But I think we have to go ahead with the application, at least to try and get this,
Yeah.
and we can always vote on whether to.
You can vote
go
no
ahead with
later
it.
on down the road.
Yeah. Okay.
thanks.
Moving on, 11.3, discussion on the alternative programs.
Well, in keeping with the theme of looking at various programs that will allow us to retain students that we're losing, Ms. Sebo initiated discussions with another district that is currently doing this, and I encouraged her to put together a proposal, and she's going to give you a little overview of where we're at right now.
So you have two things in front of you, and I'll tell you what those are in a minute. I already see a typo, so I'll ask you forgiveness already. But we have students who are in special education, and they receive a tremendous amount of support and are typically very successful here. Students who struggle and don't qualify for special education services, or struggle in one particular area, or had a rough semester, have a tough time coming back from that. We do have an online credit recovery program. It's really just to make up a credit they failed. There's not a lot of remediation. There's no skill building in there. That's a unique thing for a unique type of learner. They have to be pretty self-motivated, despite the fact that there's a teacher in there providing support. The kids that fall in the middle, that maybe have a really bad freshman year, have been set up to fail. Those are the students that stop coming. They end up just dropping from enrollment. They'll say they're going to go online. They think that's an easier option. That it's better. That doesn't happen. We don't typically have students who find success in online. Those students have to be very, very self-motivated. We have students who will leave to go to ERATS, who requires less credits than we do. Eventually, they'll fall so far behind that by their junior or senior year, we have to send them to the ALC to try and make up some of those credits, and that's not an option that a lot of those students want either. So We went out looking for some programs. We asked some schools in the state. We found that there's a very good one pretty close by. We spoke with the Hermantown High School, who has a program that they call Focus, and a much larger school in Bloomington, who has a program that they call Beacon, the Bloomington Beacon. We talked to them about how they set their programs up, how they run during the school day. Basically, an ALP, an alternative learning program, is not an ALC, Alternative Learning Center. An ALP kind of functions like a school within a school. So it is a separate program. It gets reported as a separate entity. There's a little bit of MARS reporting there. Students who participate in that ALP can qualify for more than one full student worth of payment from the state. They can qualify for up to 1.2. In addition to keeping them in our building. So within that program then, you file a program approval with the state of Minnesota, and you have to address all of these areas. And the areas that are in that program approval are covered pretty comprehensively in the characteristics of successful ALPs research that I gave you. It's just a quick overview. There has to be choice. The student has to choose to come into it. The parents have to choose. The program approval sets up how kids will apply and get in, not how will they apply, how would they be referred. And they have to meet some pretty strict standards to stay in that program. This is a fantastic opportunity for kids to not just make up on credits that they've gotten behind in, but also for skill development. Whether it's getting along with others, behavior in the class, things that are going on outside of the school. Both in Bloomington and in Hermantown, students who have struggled with dependency are very successful in these programs. They're not losing these kids to dropout. So you're providing that remediation instruction. There's a huge focus on reading skills, but it's also life skills, making good choices, who are the resources that are available to you, all of those things in order to get them back on track to go back into the regular grade that they should have been in by their junior or senior year. So this program focuses on kids who struggle in 9th grade. So it will be primarily 10th and 11th graders who are in there, whether they're in there for all 4 core subjects. One of the hours of the day is typically a group skills kind of class where they focus on those skill building, vocational things in there too. But these kids also have access to all of the regular curriculum right here at the school. So they can still go over and take auto and small engines in the wood shop. They can still be in band. They can still take art classes, all of those things, while they're making up credits and building those remediation skills. So attendance is critical. If they don't show up, they don't get to stay in the program. It is one teacher who's with them, who communicates frequently with the families, who spends a lot of individual time with the student. Each student has to have an individual learning plan for what they want to get out of this program and how they're going to get out of the program and get caught up and get back into their regular classes. Additional counseling is provided to those students. Typically, our school counselor is meeting with these kids pretty frequently already, trying to get them back on track. So that would continue as part of this program. There's some flexibility in curriculum and instruction within the program as well, so that it can be more individualized to meet those learners' needs. So the pros of this is that it's a formally recognized program by the state. We have had some interest from a couple of other schools who have been looking into similar things and are just too small to have them on their own, who would be interested in sending us students either for part of a year or part of a day to get those kids back on track and back into their own districts. So we do have some partnership opportunities. Summer school and night school would fall under this ALP umbrella instead of being at the ALC. And with the amount of students we typically have, which would hopefully decrease after this program, but the kids who end up in summer school, that program funds itself and typically makes a little more money too. So between that and keeping the kids in this district, the program should essentially pay for itself.
Do you have a number of students that we would need in the program to
So
break even
one of
point?
the recommendations is that it has to stay pretty small in order to keep that individualized instruction. So our target number would be 12 to 15 students in this program at a time. Again, with some who might only come in for math remediation, that might, that number might go up for some of those courses, but typically the program should be 12 to 15, and we would absolutely cap it at 20.
You mentioned one teacher would be with the students. Would that one teacher teach all the subjects?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any special licensure for that?
The recommendation, there's an association in Minnesota Association of Alternative Programs, something like that, and their recommendation is that finding someone who's licensed in multiple areas or licensed special ed teacher is the preferred instructor. And if you're lucky enough to find a special ed teacher who can fit into that, they're used to writing individual plans. You should be testing their skills coming in and going out to make sure they're getting caught up and getting back on track. That constant communication between the students and the families. It has to be somebody who's very positive, who can maintain a very structured classroom and still a very positive environment where those kids know that they can come in there for help with just about anything. So the thing that all of these programs that we talk to and that the association really stresses is that it has to be the right person for the program to work, so.
So basically, you're helping the students that would normally drop out and
Yes.
give them the extra education that they need. I think it's a great program. We like to see all our students graduate, and I agree. I read through the whole thing, and I deem it a very good program.
What's the probability of having it in place for the next school year?
Very high. The program approval, we had help from both of the schools that we talked to and what needs to be in that program approval and what kicked them back out of the state and said, fix this. So we feel that it's very comprehensive and it's pretty ready to go. We haven't, of course, sent it in yet, so it's possible they'll have some things they want us to correct, but we have the space. We have some great teachers within our program who might be interested in this, willing to do this. We have teachers on staff who are willing to be part of essentially an advisory committee of who should be admitted into that program and how things are going. So we definitely have the support there from within.
What do we need to do as a board?
This might help us capture some of those kids we're losing though in high school.
I hope so. I hope so.
So, I mean, what does it do? I mean, a kid doesn't look like they're going to make it, and they basically leave our school and go to this alternative learning program? Or they're still at
it's
Evelyn
here.
Gilbert?
No, they're
This
still
is
here.
here.
They're still an
They're still our
enrolled
kids.
student, but we're incurring, there's a cost associated to this that's secondary to our primary focus of business, right? I mean, we got to hire a new teacher for this program?
It is a teacher for the program, but as I said, if you're retaining 12 students that would have dropped out or left to go somewhere else, that's
More than pay for it.
more than paid for itself.
And there's funding available to help with the cost? No, it's strictly our...
Funding mechanism, the 1.2 that you're possibly reimbursed, right? I mean,
Yes, so you're keeping the students instead of losing them, but then as they work on credit recovery and spend additional time, you can get up to 1.2 for those students.
so is this really just adding one more teacher to the program, or are there other indirect costs associated with this? I mean, there's a recommended anticipated members list here, a counselor, a special ed teacher. I mean, are these people?
None of that would be added. So special ed students could still access the program, but they wouldn't be receiving special ed services. So they would still go to the special ed room for math.
But say with a counselor, I mean, by default, she would just assist in it and she wouldn't get paid any additional based on?
I mean, there's still Evelyn Gilbert High School students that are under her umbrella. So the only additional cost is that it would be a teacher.
Well, how do we quantify how many kids we're losing a year? Do we have them numbers by this criteria?
We could
I mean, I
figure
think the
that out.
ERADS number was only 11. I mean, I think, but how many would we gain from other districts? That's the other thing that, I mean, because that's part of this program, right? Is that Virginia might send somebody over here?
My opinion is that we would have to, there will be a waiting list.
No.
Because we all face the same struggle. That it's kids who aren't in such dire straits, aren't behavior issues, that might not be a candidate for the ALC.
They either drop out or they
Drop out.
rotate around to the rest of us trying to because the grass might be greener somewhere else, but I mean, it's,
And we don't have any mechanism in place to help them in ninth grade when they're struggling. We wait until they're,
The only mechanism we have is to take the class again or to try it in credit recovery. So there's no skill building.
Well, how do we identify these kids? I mean, are we going to identify these kids, or are these kids going to come to us and ask us to be admitted into the program?
So both the Beacon and the Focus programs, the referral comes from the counseling office because they're the ones overseeing, they're the ones watching for those kids who are at risk. A parent can call and ask to be considered for the program. A teacher might send in a referral. But I don't want to say there's a hard and fast measurement of who would be a good candidate for this program. It's not necessarily a kid who flunked everything in ninth grade. They have to want to succeed. They have to want to be here. There has to be some it's a team plan. So it's the counseling office, the administration, general ed teachers, the focus program teacher, the parents who are meeting frequently to monitor progress. So they're behind after ninth grade for sure, or 10th grade or 11th grade, and want to get back on track.
In your material that you have here for Evelyn Gilbert School, it does say open enrolled students too, and it does mention Mesabi East and Mountain Iron, Buell. So I take it Virginia has this program in operation right now then?
nobody does.
Nobody does.
Nobody does?
This would be unique up here.
So we could draw our students based hopefully from all three districts back here.
Potentially, Mesabi East and Mount Iron Buell are the two that I knew were looking into a similar program.
And then some of the other students over there coming over here. Of course, then you run into the over 12, 15, so,
It could be. We don't have anyone signed up yet, because we don't even have.
but the
an approved
potential would
program
be
yet.
there.
You gotta get the program first.
Potential is there.
Because we already share for vocational programs, we have buses running all the time. So the opportunity
Yeah.
would be there for a student to come to the focus program for a half a day and then go back and take, other courses in their home school.
Now, is this going to be similar to like the Northland Learning Center then? It's
No, it's not the same. It's
totally different.
Totally different. This is the classroom here, so instead of going to intermediate algebra for the second time and failing it, they would take it in the focus room, back up and work on some of those skills that they didn't have to pass intermediate algebra, and take it again and earn the credit in there, in addition to potentially advancing and making up some credits. So.
I mean, if we do this, are we doing this both feet in? Are we going to try a little pilot and see how it goes and reevaluate it year
It's such a
to
small
year?
program that,
It's pretty
you
small
can
now.
certainly evaluate it every year, but you can't pilot it with three kids. It just wouldn't, it wouldn't.
You
pay
gotta
for itself
have
then.
Right.
minimum of 12.
It would be a full implementation, but
Yeah.
All right,
visit it in
but
a
I mean,
year.
it's just,
Yeah.
we do so many things that sound like a great idea, and then we implement them, and then we just move on, and then 10 years later, we're like, oh, that didn't do nothing for us. I mean, I'd like to be more proactive as we implement new innovative ideas, and, if it, find out, and I think this said the average is, 2 to 3 years a person could be in this program, and maybe after 2 or 3 years, we look at it and say, I mean, is it doing anything value added for us? And if not, let's move on and cut our losses. I don't think we do that.
One of the so funding is typically the only issue with the AFP, is that it has.
Well,
you
funding's
have
the
to have
issue with
a
everything,
teacher.
right?
Yeah.
But the problem with this is that the only way for us to prove that we've kept students who would have dropped out is our opinion and the students'
Well, that's
reports.
why
There's
I'm
no-
kind of asking questions like nervous about this, because
There's no.
it's all going to be.
This is either something that you decide is important for our students, or it's not.
I don't like things that you can't quantify.
I think
Well,
it is
students-
important to our students.
With the students that would stay and then they graduate, there's your quantification right
We
there.
wouldn't know the difference if they would have worked
If they would have
hard
dropped
not.
out or,
I mean, that's the thing, that's fuzzy math here, right? I mean,
Right.
it sounds like a good thing and you want to do it, but I mean, so does school readiness.
even if they improved their grade average, that would show a difference too.
Well,
I mean, if we're helping a group of kids, how is that wasted money?
That's
I mean,
not wasted
right.
money.
Well,
That's-
but we're in a financial crisis, that's my point.
I know, I understand that.
This organization of a school seems to lose all the time. It's like, I get we're an educational facility, but when we're deficit spending to $1 million every year, I mean, there's got to be a return on what we're doing, otherwise we're going to cease
The
to. have a
Mike,
life.
the return is the kids. If you want to run this like a business, there wouldn't be any sports in these schools. There wouldn't be a lot of things. But those all count towards those kids of how to develop as a human being and as an adult. And I think you have to look at everything. Schools are not here to make money.
Nope.
Granted, you don't want to lose a lot of money, but you're not here to make money. You're here to educate kids, and that's what it takes. That's what you do.
But we gotta be here to sustain that in order to do that.
Well,
That's our
Granted,
core
you have to,
business,
but
right?
the balance is here and there, but you can't run everything like a business, otherwise there would be a lot of things in schools.
I've personally met these kids. I
Okay, I'm
work
sure you
out in the
have.
community. I have met these kids, and
They need something.
there's been kids that have nothing left. They're at dire straits. They're just giving up.
Yeah.
If this
sure.
gives them that hope, as it says, it's worth every penny.
Do you need anything from us tonight?
I think the next step would be that we need to apply for the program to see if we get approval. And if we do in fact get approval, then we can start having a conversation of should we start spending money or not.
Yeah, when you start spending money, then you gotta come back to us.
Right.
Thanks to
I
Ned.
mean, do you need a motion? Further-
Not at this time, but when they come
It's
back.
irrelevant if we can't get the program.
Just for the, I mean, just for
Right, we're
the.
not spending money yet.
Oh, that's fine, okay.
I do have a question on a comment you made at the beginning of your presentation. You said ERATS only has to provide 21 credits?
The
Why?
state minimum is 21. Most public schools require 24.
Okay. So it's by choice. We could go as low as 21 if we chose to.
We don't want to.
I just said.
Yes.
I-
No, we don't want to.
Okay. They don't have any special
No, there's
rules
no
to-
special permission for a charter school.
Okay.
The state minimum is 21.
Do they still have Community Day on Fridays?
I have no idea.
Okay,
Thanks to
enough
Ned.
said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on. 11.4, discussion on early childhood programs.
We must be boring the senior class or something. All right, so I wanted to try to do a little review. We implemented some new things last year, and I know Mike likes quantification and numbers, so I'm going to give that a shot.
That's such a bad thing, isn't it?
I'll give that a shot, and I guess we'll have a little discussion as to whether we should continue with that or scrap it or whatever we have you. So anyway, I'm going to break this into two things financially. One, we have ECFE and school readiness fours, or threes, excuse me, and then the other one will be school readiness fours, the two groups. So as far as ECFE and school readiness four goes, three, wow. All right, I've been here too long. So ECFE, that's your birth to four, families come in type of program. And we had 24 families participate. It's a 2-hour program. We have three sections of it, so it's either during the day or there's one at night. We had 24 families participate this year. The school readiness 3 we're doing right now at 2 days a week from 9 o'clock to 2 in the afternoon. We don't bus them. It is, and there's a fee attached to it. We could put a maximum of 14 kids in the room, and we capped it at that. We actually had to turn some away this year because we didn't have space available over on that campus. So we did go ahead and try. We had been doing just a 2-hour shot a couple days a week, and the feedback that we were getting was it was impossible to get to for that amount of time, so we didn't have a lot of participation. So we had pretty good participation this year. We filled the room. If you want numbers, between the tuition payments we got and the state aid, we brought in about $66,000 for those programs and spent about $57,000. So those are the kind of numbers that Mike likes, right, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Could have spent a little more.
All right.
Even it out.
No, I won't give Mike no more hard time. All right, so here's where a little different situation. The school readiness fours. A couple of years ago, we were just doing, that was just a couple hours a day. Then we tried a couple full days. maybe a year or two. When I came, we moved it to 4 full days. And then last year, one of the comments we got back after the year of 4 full days is nobody knew what to do with their child on that 5th day because daycare was hard to find. So last year we tried going with 5 full days.
They do get busing, right?
And they are bused if they want to. And we have about half of our 56 students that participated in that program were opted to use the transportation. It worked pretty well. We had an aide on the bus. They all picked up by the Franklin, shuttled over that way. Relatively few problems. In fact, I didn't have any, which is good, but I can't promise you that just because I didn't have any, there weren't any. But
So we didn't pick those students up at their homes?
oh yes.
Oh, we did?
But
Okay.
they all came here. They all got on the same bus and over to Gilbert they went. All right. So the problem with going with 5 days is that we talked about that before we did it. I mean, we did incur some additional expenses because that put employees over a certain hour mark. So we started. We had to have more employees, and we was also responsible for additional benefits. So we ended up spending $136,000 on the program, and between the Pathways 2 grant, the tuition that we charge, and the state aid, we took in $87,000. So we spent about $50,000 on that program. Now, as far as potential enrollment benefits, you can see from the enrollment data that we shared a couple study sessions ago, we had been typically losing anywhere between 15 and 20 kids out of the kindergarten class that never showed up here. They went, and last year we only lost, I thought it was 8, but the sheet said 9, so either 8 or 9. But that's the only data we have right now. I got 1 year, so next year will be telling to see if we retain, because there are 12 open enrolled students out of that 56. We'll see if we retain those. Just some comments that were made, because there was the teachers did a survey at the end, and there was a parent advisory committee. I just want to share a little bit about some of the things that were said. So basically, in the school readiness 4s, the parents who voiced an opinion, they liked it to continue to be 5 days a week because it's difficult to find daycare for that 5th day. If we did bring it down to 4 days, they were wondering if we could offer bear care for the 5th day. There was also some comments from teachers that, there are 3 teachers in the program, and some of them thought the 5 days might be too long. They liked that, that break in the middle of the week, because when we were doing the 4 days, we did Wednesday as the break. Most of the kids, I think we had when we started the program, we offered multiple options within that 5-day option. We offered to go every other day, 3 days a week. We offered to have 2 days a week. We offered to have them do half days for any amount of time. And we did have, of the 56, actually 58 that started the program, we did have a few of them that opted to do half days, and we had a couple of them that were just doing every other day. And by the end of the year, they were all doing full days.
I think it's the first semester, there's the fluctuation.
Yeah,
By the second semester, they kind of all go full-time.
A little bit of fluctuation, but by the end of the year, they were all going full-time. So I mean, that 5th day is something that we still need to have a discussion about, whether we shouldn't, and what we're going to do if we don't. Like I said, the busing, all the parents were happy with the busing. It was a good benefit. We also do offer that age group to come to bear care after school, before and after school, and we do have a number of families that utilize that for that program. As far as the school readiness 3's comments that were made, they all liked the longer day, the almost full day, the 9 to 2. Shorter day made it difficult to get to the program. They'd like to see the same start time. They'd like to see an earlier start time, but the problem with that is the congestion that's going on in the building at that time. That's why we didn't recommend it. A few parents said they'd like to see a third day added. The teachers weren't quite as keen on that. I mean, it's, at 3 years old, I mean, that's quite a bit.
For a teacher.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's not
that's...
daycare.
All of them, all the parents that responded and said that they were very appreciative of the program this year. Lots of them were nervous about the longer days and the extended days, and after a few weeks it wasn't even an issue, and a lot of their kids said, most of their kids said that they much rather be there than to go to daycare. So I think generally positive reviews. I think the 1 year of data that we have as far as retention is positive. My recommendation going forward is that we certainly have a conversation about that 5th day, but either way, I'd like to see us try this again. I know it cost us a little bit of money, but I think perhaps it's could be beneficial in the end. And I do believe that coming out of this legislative session, I think there's going to be more money coming our way for this program. So it's one of Governor Dayton's priorities, seems to be.
There were 12 open enrolled kids in the...
Yes.
And we have no idea if we're going to retain any of those right now. My whole thing, that's almost a class. And if we don't retain any of them, that's kind of money not well spent. I mean, I think the program's great. My kid's going to be in it next year. But my whole thing is subsidizing a neighboring district's children's for a year. I mean, can we set a limitation where we don't accept neighboring students?
We don't have to accept. I mean, this is a tuition-based program. This isn't like kindergarten where we have to take everybody.
What is the tuition?
$800 a year. Is it $800 a year? Yeah.
So tuition is $800 a year. They're there all day, 5 days a week right now, and we provide the busing.
Yep.
Sounds like a good deal.
It's just, I mean, don't make any mistake. I mean, I was kind of tough against it, but I mean, my kids, I mean, we've participated in ECFE for 6 years now. I mean, school readiness, we participated in. I mean, they're great programs, and I think they're awesome, but my whole problem is that I look at them as an educational activity where I think some of the public gets confused that they're a cheap daycare outlet.
Yeah.
We were in school readiness when it was 4 days a week, and I think it was 2.5 hours a day. That was perfect for our family. I mean, and I understand it doesn't work for everybody else, so I guess I understand that, yes, we went in the hole this year, but that doesn't really concern me if there's a return on that. I mean,
and I don't know that we're going to fully understand that unless we do it for 1 more year.
It's going to be 2 or 3 more years, because depending on what happens in Virginia is going to be a huge impact.
But I think the key is for us to continue to have the discussion every year as to, you know, like Mike said earlier, I mean, rather than just implement this and assume it's working for the next 10 years. It needs to be evaluated quite regularly.
I mean,
with both community input and our own. I mean, I do value the people that are in those rooms as well. I mean, it was not an easy task. I mean,
Well, maybe we could look at a tuition change too.
we can look at that too.
there was that almost last year, but we added that 5th day, so we really didn't throw that in there this year, right? Wasn't that the deal?
Right.
So there was a little bit of might have left a little something on the table, but I mean,
And I don't know what that would look like either. I'm just
No.
saying I think that needs to be part of the discussion. If we're losing that much money, I don't think it's unreasonable to look at it as part of the package when we have the conversation.
See, I think if we're keeping the kids though in the district, I don't know that you can really even call it losing money, but like I said,
I agree with
you're not
that.
gonna-
I agree. But what concerns me is the 12 open enrolled ones that aren't from our district. I mean, you do the math, I mean, that could almost be the difference there if we don't retain them.
Yeah. We'll find out. Any other comments?
Do you need anything right now, or just a comment?
I'm just telling you that my recommendation when we start the budget talks next week is going to be that we're going to hang on to this for another year. We will talk about that 5th day, what that will look like, but
Are we doing signups currently, or do we want to kind of know what it's going to look like before we open up signups for it?
we want to know what it looks like beforehand, so we'll release
should
that.
probably start doing
We'll
it.
release that probably next Tuesday when we have a better handle on what we're willing to pursue. And we'll start signups at that time, so like on the 15th. We'll put information out and start taking, because I know there are lots of parents who contacted us asking what's going on. So we need to make a decision and go with it. That's all I have, unless anyone else has comments.
Okay. 11.5, golf course lease. It's $50 per participant.
$50 participant. This is just a 1 year. And I know this is going to shock a lot of people, including Mike, but the past ones have only been 1 year, and I don't know that we've had one for a couple of years, so here it is now. I'm working on these things.
I know you are. We're paying them bills every year still, aren't we?
Yep.
So, what's your pleasure?
I mean, is this different than in the last year
Nope.
leases though? It's just an updated renewal?
Yep.
I'll make a motion, we accept Jeff's recommendation. How's that?
Thanks, Mike.
Motion by Mr. Peterson.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Forty.
Thanks, Mark.
Any,
You're welcome.
any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 12.0, superintendent's report.
Oh,
Is there more?
there's still more? I thought we were done, Keith. Mr. Chair, sorry. All right. So next Monday, we're going to be looking at some programming numbers. Remember, at 5 o'clock. I'm going to add a few more topics onto that, one of them being our technology, infrastructure, and staffing. Now that we have some recommendations on that. And I think I'm also going to add a discussion on daycare. And I'm going to leave it at daycare.
Are you going to meet with the city before then and all, or no?
I have met with the city and IRRB last week regarding daycare. The IRRB is very interested in having daycare in this community, as is the city, as are we. And I think we're going to explore whatever option is possible to, and the IRRB understands that we aren't obligated to continue to have them in one of our buildings and subsidizing, or I shouldn't say subsidizing, well, you can call it whatever you want, but we're spending more on that building than we're taking in via lease. So they fully understand that, and don't think that the onus is on us to continue to provide space for any daycare organization, but want to work with us and the city to make sure that there is some type of daycare somewhere in the city. So, and I just think we need to have that conversation. What's it going to look like? So,
I mean, I don't know if this is the right time to even ask the question, but I mean, does Bear Care come into that conversation, or could it?
one of the things on the table could be the school starts its own daycare.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I can absolutely assure you that from my perspective, I would hope that that's the absolute last resort, because I don't want to get into the daycare business. But it's on the table.
All right.
Along the lines of the early childhood, we being Andrea and I, received information from the MD, Department of Education, that it was basically reiterating that Governor Dayton is going to be really into early childhood. And one of the problems that a lot of districts are faced with, and we are for all that matters, is when the legislator starts talking about expand our early childhood program, space becomes an issue. And it is for us too. I mean, our space that we're using right now isn't exactly ideal. And so they sent out grant requests, just trying to gather information during this session as to how much that might look like if they expanded early childhood, and what are districts going to be looking at as far as building. I mean, what are they? A lot of districts have to add on, and I know Andrea and I are going to start working tomorrow on some type of proposal, because we want at least our name in the book that we have need. What that looks like in the end, it might be a lot different, but
For bricks and mortar?
yeah. And these are state grants, though, not.
So, I mean, could that be renovation or new builds, or?
I read it as being new. Yeah.
Oh, just a new.
Yeah. So we're going to put in for it and see where it goes. Just wanted to make you aware of that.
Could be ridered or something we do.
Yep. So. So let's see. So a couple things tonight that you heard about, the early childhood program and the alternative learning program. Those are both, we often hear, we've heard over the last weeks, months, what are you doing to keep the kids we have? And I think these are both great programs that we've implemented. Well, we haven't implemented one of them, but we're looking at and or implemented. And there's certainly more ideas out there, but I think these are good things, and I appreciate the board taking the time to listen and supporting them tonight. I mean, I think they're great steps forward for our districts. There's things that other districts are not doing right now. I mean, there are other districts doing early childhood programs, but we're, believe it or not, we're at the forefront of that as far as the amount of time that kids are here in the program that we offer. So I think it's a good thing for us right now, and you guys should be commended for taking a leap of faith and believe me that it might be a good thing, and I hope I'm right. So anyway, and again, reminder, next Monday we're right here, 5 o'clock, and that's all I have for tonight.
Okay.
That's 5.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start earlier?
Nah, it'll be fine.
No, we'll just stay with
I
5.
posted
Okay.
5, let's do 5.
Okay.
You're just gonna add a couple line
I'm gonna
items
add
to the
a few.
agenda.
Okay. That's all?
No, we got a Rams report from Mr. Forty.
Committee reports 13.0.
Well, kind of a report, but there were several copies in the board packet, various information that I got at the last Rams meeting. If you've read them or not, but going through the minutes, there's another new member, Fail Township, voted to join Rams after years of non-membership. And Lavelle Township is thinking about it. I don't know if they've joined. City of Virginia continued their membership in Rams. Then there was couple things about the mining industry that I thought would be of interest to us. If you read the mining update in February from Craig Pagel, he's Iron Mining Association. I think he's the chairman of that or whatever. The number of laid-off miners and satellite workers approaches 4,000 in total, between miners, vendors, construction workers. And what I thought was interesting, I think everybody did, 45% of the vendor layoffs are in the Duluth area. So it's not just on the range that we're feeling the downturn. And then something from the IRRB, I believe, or from Lee Bloomquist, just about the state of the industry. And if you read through that, looked at that, it's pretty sobering as to how long they see this downturn lasting, and it's going to affect us. And one thing that I didn't get to was the second meeting of the Recharging the Range. Mona, did you attend?
Yes.
Anything from that you can share?
It was my understanding exactly how they handled the first one. They broke us into groups based on a predetermined format, different categories that they had, housing and transportation and medical, and I don't remember what they all were. You had to split up into the various groups. You had conversation, and then they took notes and shared those. It sounds like it's just one more step in the overall
one more step in the overall plan, so I don't think anything really came of it of any substance. I think it's just part of the overall thing that they're doing.
And I think there's one more session scheduled.
Yes.
It's going to be a public one, I believe. Then they'll take all three of them and put them together in some big coalition of data and go from there.
But I intend to try to share with you the minutes and some of the info that I get through the RAMS organization.
Okay.
That's all I have.
I'll read it when I get home.
Pardon?
I'll read it when I get home.
You can take mine.
My board packet is locked up in the post
Oh,
office yet.
okay.
I'll get it. I printed off a lot of stuff today. All the emails and information that Jeff has sent us. Just- Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you.